CapitalOne.com. What's in your wallet?
And in the Impact segment tonight, as the factor has been reporting the rise of oil prices last spring, a huge con driven by greedy speculators lit the fuse of the current recession. At the same time, gas prices are being artificially driven up, diverting consumer money away from other products and services. Another big con was underway in the mortgage industry, which, as you know, led to the collapse of the financial industry. Now, these five men were supposed to be overseeing the economy, making sure you were being protected. President Bush, Treasury Secretary Paulson, SEC Chairman Chris Cox, Senator Chris Dodd, and Congressman Barney Frank. I could have been Ben Bernanke, the Fed chief, in there, but he doesn't have enforcement powers. They do. Now, none of them looked out for you. And the SEC even blew it when tipped off about the con man Bernard Madoff, who may have stolen $50 billion with a B dollars. Now, yesterday on Neil Cavuto's program, I said this about Madoff. Capital punishment, that's what I'm calling for. Hang him, kill him.
It's a bit severe, but...
You know, look, it isn't a bit severe, though. You know, if you worked hard your whole life and you gave this guy, under the guise of, you know, advice from your financial advisor, whoever it may be, a good chunk of your life savings, and then it evaporates, it disappears. And then you're going, I worked for 35 years and broke my back, and now somebody stole this money from me. My whole life is ruined. I've got to sell my house. I can't send my kid to college, whatever it may be. You're telling me that's too severe? This guy should never see the light of day again. I don't believe in capital punishment, but he should go to jail for the rest of his life. Now today, again, a judge ruled Madoff could remain free on bail, confined to his lavish Manhattan penthouse apartment. Now the big question, with all this corruption, why should Americans have any faith in the U.S. capital system at all? Well, there's now to answer that, Fox News business anchor Alexis Glick, who you can see on FBN starting at 7 a.m. in the morning. Wow. All right, look. I don't want to get cynical here, and I don't want to scare anybody, but it's a con, and the people got hurt, and all these people let us down, the five people I put up there. You can put them up again. President Bush led the way. Nobody warned us. And they said, oh, yeah, I did this, I did that, but there was no Paul Revere. I didn't know, you didn't know. Nobody knew this was going to collapse the way it did. And this Madoff, they tipped off the SEC about this guy. They didn't do anything about him. So why should I and everybody else watching, Alexis, invest any money at all in this system?
Oh, I mean, listen, there is absolutely every single right to be outraged. I'm outraged. I worked on Wall Street for 8 years. This calls into question the credibility and confidence of everybody who's in the profession who invests in money or who's an investment advisor. There are a couple things you got to take away from this. Number one, the regulatory oversight here was horrific and damaging.
It didn't exist.
It didn't exist. And here's the big problem. The tens of thousands of people who invested in funds, what we call like feeder funds, were the middlemen who invested the money in Madoff. But these people didn't know that the money was invested in Madoff.
Their financial advisors saying, yeah, I can get a return of 7.5%. This is a good deal.
They have no protection.
They're done. Even the people who made money and got out are going to lose that money because the government's going to take it from them because you're involved in any Ponzi scheme. You give up no matter you win or lose. But look, here's the deal. Madoff is going to go to prison. He's going to go for a long period of time. His life is over. He's 70 years old, and that's what's going to happen to him. But the lives that he affected adversely, guy committed suicide, okay? I'm sure there are other people who are just, they have no way to regroup this money ever. When you have a guy like that, and the SEC was tipped off, as we just said, didn't do anything about him, when you have the oil prices being driven up artificially last year, when you have a mortgage system out of control in houses like Merrill Lynch, Lehman Brothers, then the folks are going to put the money under the mattress. You know, I don't trust them. They're going to cheat me, and that's what we have now.
Okay, here, listen, I understand 100% what you're saying, but let's put some of this in context, okay? If you look at 2008 and you compare this to what happened during the S&L crisis in the middle of the 80s leading to the early 90s, 2,800 banks failed in that period. 23
So it's
banks,
not as bad as the S&L crisis.
23 banks failed last year, and your FDIC insurance now has gone up from $100,000 on an individual account up to $250,000.
You say what? You say the folks should continue funding their 401k, should continue buying stocks and bonds?
The bottom line is, you first of all, under a bank that is FDIC insured, your money is
so you
safe.
can put the money in the bank.
Yes, the bank
That's
is
not going to
safe.
make you a lot of money.
You have to make sure if you're investing, you invest with a registered investment advisor. Because if you don't have security investor protection.
Look, Alexa, stop. A registered investment advisor can give money to Bernie Madoff, too. I mean, that's not going to protect you.
It doesn't mean...
You're not answering my question. You got to answer this question. Do you tell people to continue to buy stocks and bonds in this country? Do you tell them to do that?
I tell them you should, of course, have a diversified portfolio, but you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. Here's a classic example of all these people, though, who thought, I could get 8 to 10% returns annually when markets were down 20 or 30%. That's not the real world. That's just not humanly possible.
You're not convincing me.
So, listen, but wait a second. If you don't have some diversified risk, part of that diversification, Bill, is having some investments in real estate.
Everything went down. Real estate went down, bonds went down, stocks went down, gold went down. Everything went down because of the big con.
What do you get by investing it under your mattress or by investing in a treasury right now?
I'm not telling people to do it, but I have to say, you have not convinced me that this is not a rigged system. But we'll give you another chance. I got to go now.